One last question that I really wanted to delve in with you. You've mentioned his name a few times here, and no doubt he is a fascinating global player, part president, part king, tsar, right? He's a figure. I don't even know if he's out of those storybooks. He's just an incredibly unusual figure. He's temperamental. One day he's with us, another day he's saying "F you," and then he's with you again, and then he's threatening the courts that are trying to the lawsuits against Netanyahu. It's President Trump. What an unusual figure in time. So help me understand President Trump as you understand them in the 12-day war. In his recent defense of Bibi, we were led to understand that he's got a thing against Bibi. He's got some issues with him. Now he's out there defending him against Israeli courts. The Israeli right wing is coming to the defense of the Israeli courts saying, why are you getting involved? Other people are like, why don't you guys just shut up? He's trying to fight the deep state. What a fascinating global figure. On the one hand, he's in Qatar's pocket. On the other hand, he's sending B-2s to Iran, and then he says, don't fight anymore, make peace. Just a fascinating figure. It's hard to even know, where he is, what he stands for. But one thing, there was a guy who I spoke with said to me, he doesn't like Trump, and he says to me, but I'll tell you what, he's presidential. Definitely a man that knows how to wield power. So that's my question to you. Who is President Trump? How do you see him?
I understand President Trump, and I think he's remarkably consistent. The key to understanding President Trump is not to believe everything you read in leaked stories from anonymous sources about what Trump is thinking. We have the same genre in Israel. The Haaretz columnists who somehow claim deep insight into Netanyahu's psychology. They don't know anything. And I think it's the same with the Trumpologists. The only way to know Trump is to read what he says, and more importantly, see what he does. And He has always been a critic of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, by which Obama firmly set Iran onto a nuclear footing with U.S. blessing. He has always been a critic of that. He has always said he's not going to give let Iran have a nuclear bomb. He has been remarkably consistent. And, when he makes tactical decisions, we're going to give him 60 days to Iran to talk. People start taking those as strategic. Oh, this means he wants to make a deal with Iran just like Obama did. No, that's what it would have meant if it's Obama, but it's not Obama. And he's been remarkably consistent to those. He's been amazingly supportive of Israel. And he, I think, understands the asset value of Israel to America. He looks around at NATO, which he's very critical of, these countries which can't defend themselves, and says, wow, here we have an ally that's actually worth dealing with, worth supporting, that can get the job done, and really tee us up for a win. So I think we live in an oversaturated media atmosphere, where we're parsing every tweet of, you think Donald Trump is temperamental? Churchill and Roosevelt didn't really like each other. Churchill really didn't like Roosevelt. Montgomery and Patton could not be in the same room together. They had to send aides even when they were in the same town. It's very hard to have high-level relationships dealing with big, intense, stressful stuff and not lose your temper sometimes. Donald Trump puts it all on Twitter where we can see it publicly. So we see the friction maybe more than in other relationships. But in that way, he's just, I think, disarmingly candid. And in terms of his actions, they've just been amazingly consistent pro-Israel. And in terms of the prosecutions of Bibi, he wants to get things done in the Middle East. And he's seeing these absurd trials, which by American standards, in America, you can't have a trial go on for 5 years, a criminal proceeding. There's constitutional norms against that. You have to either fish or cut bait. You can't just prosecute someone forever. And of course, he himself has been the victim of all these baseless politicized prosecutions. So I think he also personally relates in a very direct way. So I think it's all kind of honest and amazingly supportive of Israel, not just because he loves Israel, though I think he does feel good, serious affection for it, but because he sees it as a vital ally.
And how would you put him in a historic? I mean, maybe it's too early, but how do you put him in kind of an historic timeline? How do you see him? Do you see any likeness to him as a historical figure? To something else in the past?
He's one of a kind. He's definitely one of a kind, but he is, I think, in modern times, he is one of the only presidents the first president to be willing to deal with long-running, intractable problems genuinely. Iranian nuclear bomb. Everybody agrees it's a problem, right? Everyone agrees it's a problem. Everyone's been talking about it for decades. No one wants to do anything about it except Obama, who wants to help. Illegal immigration. No president has come out and said, we love illegal immigration, though, again, Obama and Biden greatly facilitated it. And so, yeah, it's a problem we got to do, but it's hard to do. It's impossible to do. And Trump is doing. And these are existential issues, I think, for the United States. And he's lining up these existential issues and addressing them one after another. It's likely he's going to break some China in the process. But he is dealing with issues.
Was that a pun there? Was that a pun or?
No. Oh, no. No, by the way, I think China now is, I'm sure they're revisiting all of their Taiwan plans. I think we just bought Taiwan sometime. And people tell stories about Putin's, he's in Putin's pocket. He likes Putin. Putin calls him up and says, let me mediate between Israel and Iran. He says, why don't you mediate yourself first, right? That's pretty sharp. That's pretty good. He wants to give everyone a chance. I think he's very conscious of his power, and tries to create a framework of fairness even with enemies, but is not going to get swept away by that rhetoric. We've seen a lot of leaders who say we want to try peace, and then they get swept up by the rhetoric of peace. So Trump can keep it in a box, right? If only in the Oslo process we could have had leaders like that, right? Trump says 60 days. 61 is when the bombs start falling.
That's right.
We'd be like, day 61 is when we'd be talking about like a 2-week renewal, etc.